of a doubt. I want to say to my atheist friends here today, I wrote them all down. And I think the people in our church have the answer to these. These are not such complicated questions at all. If you came to our church every Sunday, you hear very solid teaching on these subjects. We understand the Sabbath. We understand the different things that went on. And I'm amazed that you don't even know what the Sabbath is. If you never read Hebrews chapter 3 and 4, our Sabbath is Jesus. We rest in Jesus. It's a picture of Him. And I mean, we could go on. So I don't know where to start. I have 15 subjects here. God is brutal. Sabbath, contradiction, peace and war, paying double for fines. Jesus threatening, what is this? I can't even read my own writing. Slavery, women's right, 144 male virgins. Angry Jesus. Jesus is arrogant. He ruins people's business. He greater works and he's useless. Okay, let me just say, let's just pick the area of contradiction. Let's just pick one of the 15 so I can say something sensible about one of these things. But I assure you again, I can give you an answer for all of them. Just give me the whole hour. No, I understand that, but there's a lot of questions raised here. Contradictions. Now you can just go on a website and you can look at Dan's contradictions. He has a chapter with contradictions from the Bible. He takes this issue up. How could Jesus say that he's the Prince of Peace? And then he says, I came to send war. You know, what about peace in Bethlehem and goodwill towards all people? What about, Paul says he's abolished the law. And what about, you know, Jesus said, I'm not going to take away the law. What about James says you're justified by works, and Paul says by faith? These are elementary questions for anybody who has studied the Bible. There's no contradiction. So my question is this. My question on this. Think about this. Are these people so stupid? Because you'll find in books by the authors mentioned, and I will be glad to say why I did. Please ask me somebody why I think Dawkins wasn't worth reading. Basically, the Bible is orchestrations. Things were added later on. For several hundred years, these scholars who were bent on creating a lie and make the story good, they study all the Old Testament prophecies. And they fit them into the Jesus story. They fit it into the resurrection and the crucifixion story. So these were not dummies. They were pouring through the Old Testament scriptures to make the story of Jesus good. Well, these people who we must say were intelligent, they were skillful forgers, according to the atheistic thinking. Would it be logical these same skillful forgers wouldn't notice these seeming contradictions? And by the way, your 50 contradictions is nothing. I got a whole book, 500 pages by McKinsey on Bible contradictions. My goodness. Say these contradictions are worthless. They're worth absolutely nothing. Anybody can understand. Jesus is talking about two different things. When he talks about peace, he's the Prince of Peace because the war is over. There was a hostility because of human sin. But since that sin had fallen on Jesus, there's peace on earth towards everyone. God has only peaceful intentions. But there would be some families where there would be strife because the mother would say, I want Jesus, or the father would say, I want Jesus, and the other one. Well, these contradictions, I asked my assistant to bring me the newspaper. I want to show you how the contradictions work. Please bring me my newspapers here. Because if you study, this is sum up all the contradictions. I have the Gospel according to the National Post right here. Yesterday's edition. I have the Gospel according to the Globe and Mail. I have the Gospel according to the Hamilton Spectator. And I have the Gospel according to the Standard. Now this is how you find contradictions. You know, here's a story, several stories here, about the Harper Schreiber Inquirer. Oh, when we read that there's a man who's working here as heading up an inquirer called David Johnston. He's on the front page of the Gospel according to the National Post. But once we go to the Gospel of the Globe and Mail, we find out that Mr. Johnson is not just Mr. Johnson. It's on page 9 here. Mr. Johnson is now a professor from Waterloo. Well, that proves right what a contradiction. If this was a true story, wouldn't the National Post have noted that he was a professor? Why wouldn't they call him a professor? It means that the Globe and Mail must be written later because they wanted to add and make the story better. And the saddest thing of all is, there's no evidence of the story at all in the St. Catholic Standard, which proves the whole thing is made up. There never was a Moroni. There never was a Schreiber. That's the logic. Thank you.
If I get a round of applause for Peter and for Dan. So we're going to take a 10-minute break. break, give everybody a chance to stretch their legs, and we'll come back for a Q&A and then some closing remarks from Dan Barker and Peter Youngren. Thank you very much. Our technical difficulties, we've only got one mic. Before we begin our question and answer, we have just a quick announcement from Justin Trottier from the Centre of Inquiry in Toronto. So it's a quick announcement from him, and then we'll move on to your questions. When you come to the mic to ask your questions, you come up to the mic here at the center. I'll have to shuttle the microphone back and forth, but if you could speak into the mic, you see taped to the stand for the benefit of the TV crew that's filming. And please keep your questions succinct, no speeches and long preambles. If you have a question for either one of the speakers, direct it to them or both of them. Whoever answers will have a 2-minute answer, and then the other gentleman will have a minute to respond if he so chooses. So I'll turn it over for Justin for just a moment.
Thank you. I'll be very brief, just a couple of minutes. My name is Justin Trottier. I hail from a place called the Centre for Inquiry Ontario, where we work in close affiliation with the Niagara Secular Humanists and up across Ontario. We are the largest organization in Canada dedicated to education and outreach, promoting science, reason, secularism, secular ethics, and freedom of inquiry, and also serving as Canada's first venue for humanists, skeptics, atheists, and freethinkers. Throughout Canada, CFI hosts leading educational events, robust social and community secular services like our Coping with Our Religion and secular sobriety support groups. We engage in political advocacy, supporting science and secularism. For example, our strong stand in favor of one secular public educational system in Ontario. We also provide an open and comfortable meeting space and a library open every day for our community members. The best part of my job, and the reason I'm here in front of you now, is our campus outreach initiative. CFI has launched 24 campus free thought groups across Canada, spanning from Vancouver to Montreal, dedicated to providing a voice and a community for atheists, agnostics, humanists, skeptics, and free thinkers. This is quite unprecedented. Promoting a secular, humanistic, and rationalistic alternative to the religious communities on campus, providing education in science and critical thinking, and defending secular, pluralistic democracy. We recently launched a very similar group at Brock University in St. Catharines, and it's called the Brock University Free Thought Alliance. I do urge you, if you're a student at Brock and affiliated in some way, to check out the display to my right, to learn more about us online at cfiontario.org, or to just come speak to me after the event is done. So that's it. Thanks for your attention, and enjoy the rest of the event.
Thanks very much, Justin. And again, thanks to the Niagara Secular Humanist and CAW Hall for allowing us to be here tonight. And again, a quick round of applause for Peter Youngren and for Dan Barker and time out of tonight. All right, so if you just want to come up to the mic, and no stampede. So again, just keep your questions direct to one of the two speakers, and they'll answer, and we'll hopefully get through as many questions as we can.
Okay, I've got the question that's going to stump Dan here. He will not be able to answer this one. Why is it that when a person is breathing their last, whether it be on the battlefield in Vietnam, Korea, or wherever, and my two brothers experienced this in Korea, their comrades are on the battlefield, or maybe you yourself, when you get to the point where you're in an accident or whatever, you're in the hospital, and you're breathing your last breath, and the worst atheist, the worst blasphemer in the world is asking for the parson, he's asking for prayer. Answer that one.
I think even Peter would agree with me that your scenario is just false. There are many, many, many non-believers who face death without even a thought of prayer or of calling upon God. We have members of our group. Kenneth Dunn, he gave me his dog tags. He refused to have religion put on his dog tags. He fought in some of the beaches in the South Pacific. He saw praying Christians killed. He survived by luck. He never once thought of praying to God.